If you are a home services business and you have dead leads just sitting in your CRM, you are losing money. In this video, I will show you exactly how to build an AI system that follows up with those leads automatically, keeps your calendar full, and then drives more revenue for your business without you having to lift a finger. Home services businesses nowadays are using this to generate more revenue without having to put more effort on their side. So let's get into it.
I booked your pre-roof inspection for Thursday, April 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. If you have any questions before then, feel free to reach out. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a great day.
Thank you. Same. So this is how the full system looks like, but first let me walk you through some considerations. The concept or the general idea of the lead reactivation system is to generate extra money with no extra effort for your business. So the concept is that you already have past leads sitting in your database and you probably forgot about them. So how does the system actually works? First, we will connect with your existing lead database, say a CRM, Service Titan, whatever you use, Excel, Google Sheets. Then we will have an AI voice agent to call your leads conversationally and naturally. Then we will identify key values like who is interested, who needs a quote, and who needs a human follow-up. And also on the same call, we will try to book an appointment for a free inspection directly into your calendar. And then you just have to show up and close the deal. So now let me walk you through a quick math for you to see the value in this. So let's say you have a total dormant leads of 1,000, and we can get the AI to get 100 of those leads interested again in your service. And out of 100, you're able to close 10%, which are very conservative numbers. But let's say you're able to close only 10%, which are just 10 new jobs. And let's say you make an average profit per job of $2,000. That's a total extra revenue of $20,000 just by using AI and integrating it into your business, which is crazy if you ask me. Right, so how does this work? So this has three moving parts essentially, which are highlighted here with colors. The first part is taking the leads that you store in your database. In this case, I'm using a Google Sheet, and use that information to trigger calls in Retell, which is the orchestrating part of the whole system and where our AI voice agent is hosted. So we have a list of leads, and we have also some input variables that we would like to pass to the AI agent for it to use during the conversation to make it more personalized and increase the possibilities of people actually getting interested again in your service. So as I said, we're going to take each and every one of those leads and map them to a Retell AI agents via HTTP request using Make. So here, as I said in Retell, as the orchestrating part of the whole system, we will have two outcomes. The first one, of course, is to book the appointment via cal.com with an integration, a native integration inside that platform, and send the confirmation via email to the person that is calling. And after that, we're going to receive a post-call analysis. That's actually the technical word, but it's basically the information, the output variables that we would like to store for each lead on the same Google Sheets. So I am storing first if the appointment was booked during the call, if it was booked, actually the appointment date, if they requested a new quote, if there is a human follow-up needed, some updated notes, and also the lead status. All of these are mapped to columns inside a Google Sheet for each and every one of our leads. And as I said, we're gonna send that information to the Google Sheet. Now this is the Google Sheet that is going to act as CRM in this specific build. In this Google Sheet, we have 4 different sheets. The first one is where we will copy and paste all our leads, and we will define if we want to call them always every time our automation runs. We want to just call them once, and if we don't want to call them at all. Here we also have the number that we're going to call and all the input variables that we're going to use during the call. Contact results is another very well formatted sheet. Here, this status depends specifically on the status inside contacts import. If it is always on or on, this is going to be on. And if we have also connected successfully once with that lead, this is going to turn to off automatically. Why? Because we just want to call that person once successfully if it connected, and not spam call him every single time we run the automation. This is just basically the way to control that we don't spam people that don't want to be called. Now the call log sheet is where we're going to store all the calls that we are making to all our leads. So here we're going to have the call ID, the to number, and essentially the whole information that we receive from Retell once we make a call and then also finish a call. Because here highlighted in green, we have the columns that we're going to use to store the output from the call. So as I said, I'm going to store the name, I'm also retrieving the appointment book, the appointment date, if they requested a quote, and everything I mentioned before. Here I'm gonna store. This is acts as a CRM essentially, basically. We can control how many times we call a lead, how many times we allow errors to occur, and we have all the information centralized in a Google Sheet in a very, very nice way. And then we're gonna connect this to make this even more powerful. On Make, we have two different automations as you saw previously on the architecture. The first one is the one that's going to trigger the calls from our Google Sheets, from the contact results sheet. And the other one is the one that is going to store all the information that we took from the call into the call log inside our same file. So first, let me walk you through this first automation. Essentially what is happening here is that we're searching for the contacts that have status as on, and this is set to trigger every day at a specific time. So every day at 6:47 p.m., this is going to trigger and this is going to bring into this automation all the leads that have status as on. That's why it's very important to have that status column inside our Google Sheets to control the way we retrieve those leads. And what are we going to do with that information? Essentially, we're going to map that into a call for every lead and use that as a payload to send to the create phone call endpoint in Retell API. So for that, you're going to have to use this URL. The method is going to be post, of course. You need a better key. This is your API key from Retell, and you include that in a header as an authorization. And then you just include the body with all the payload that we need. So for this specific endpoint, we need the from number, which is a number that we configured inside Retell and Twilio, the number that we're going to call, the agent ID, which you can find on the top side of your screen when in Retell, and then the Retell LLM dynamic variables, which are essentially the input variables that we can use during the conversation. The first name that we already have and that we can map inside the payload, the last name, the service type, the address, the last contacted date, if we sent a quote, the quote amount, and the notes. All of these are being mapped to Retell variables that I'm then going to use in my prompting to make each conversation more personalized to that specifically. And for our second and last automation, we just basically have a webhook that is also configured inside Retell. I'm going to show you how in a second. And here we have to filter by the call analyzed. So here the event field has to be call analyzed because Retell sends essentially three different types of events. This call analyze is the one that is going to allow us to receive the information after the call has finished and actually retrieve the output variables. And finally, in the Google Sheets node, basically I am just mapping all of these variables to these specific columns inside our call log sheet. The important part here is that we are mapping the output information that are going to give us more context about what happened during the call to the columns that we set as output variables. This is also something that you need to configure inside Retell, and I'm going to show you how just in a second. Now inside Retell, which is a platform that allows us to create our AI voice agent, to configure it and to prompt it, we're going to first start by the prompting. I like always to include a role, the main objectives with subsections with main objective and secondary objectives, a little bit of context. So I made up a roofing company, as I said, called Soon Shield Roofing, some information about the service offered, the business hours, etc., some style guidelines for it to be able to actually talk naturally with the lead, and the conversation flow. So first I'm going to start by recalling a previous interaction and addressing the person by name. That's why dynamic variables are so important, because here I am using the first name of the lead that I'm actually calling, and this is going to be different for every lead that I'm calling. And here's where different pathways can open to us. If the quote sent was yes, I'm going to tell that person that a few months back we sent you a quote for the service type for that person at your property on the specific address of that person for the quote amount. This is how you see that dynamic variables are actually very powerful when you want to personalize conversation with the lead using a voice agent. And if the quote sent was equal to no, I'm going to tell him this also using dynamic variables. Basically, if you scroll down a bit now, my purpose is to actually get them on free inspection, for them to schedule a free inspection at their address. If they say yes, then I'm going to ask for their best email and to send the confirmation, and then use actually the functions that are native in Retell to check the calendar availability and then book the appointment inside the calendar. Here, as you know, we have to use cal.com to retrieve the API key and the event type ID, set the time zone, and yeah, This is basically how it goes. Also for the book appointment, this is the same. You just create an event inside Calm, you retrieve both of those variables and just paste them here and then mention them during the prompting to actually specify the agent where it should use them. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm checking the availability with the check availability function. And if it is available, it is going to use the book appointment function. If not, it is going to offer three alternative 30-minute time slots for our appointment. Now, I also have the option of offer an updated quote. So if quote sent was yes and the appointment wasn't booked, I just want to tell him that I can send him an updated quote based on the current pricing, just to keep them on the loop and having a lead kind of warm, maybe, and not lost at all. And finally, I'm just wrapping up. Here, I define the input variables that I'm putting to the agent and also the system variables, which are the current dates and time in my time zone. Now, the important part here is the post-call analysis tab, in which I'm going to descriptively tell the AI which variables I need to output from our conversation. So these are the ones that I'm mapping to the columns inside the log code sheet in our database. And here what you have to do is basically, if you want to create a new one, is just click here on add, define the type of variable that you want to use. So let's say a text, name it whatever you want, give the AI the description on how to retrieve that information. And then also, if it is a text, you have the option to create an example for the AI to know in which format you would like the answer to that variable. In our case, I already set all those variables before, and here on the webhook settings, to send those variables to the make automation, I set my webhook here, the URL that I showed you earlier, just basically copy it and paste here. And this is how Retell is gonna know where to send the information. Okay, finally, after having explained the whole system, I'm gonna jump right into a demo. So I'm gonna put myself, my own contact as on in my Google Sheet, the one that we use to trigger the calls. Here you can see that I am as on. And then I'm gonna trigger the automation, talk to my agent and see if we are receiving the output information on our same Google Sheet. So let's do that. Let's first make sure that I'm just setting myself only as on, because all these other leads and information is just made up information. But of course, in a real case scenario, you will just settle all of this as on like that, and this will automatically translate to the contact results tab. In this case, I'm just gonna turn them off, and that's it. So let's go to our make scenario. Let's run this once, and I should be receiving a call right now in my phone. You see here that I'm receiving that call, and let's talk to my agents. Hello?
Hi, this is David calling from Sunshield Roofing. Am I speaking with Juan?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Juan, I'm calling because a few months back we sent you a quote for your property at 500 Bayfront, Dr. Miami, SL33139, regarding a roof replacement for 11,200. I just wanted to check, were you able to get that taken care of, or are you still exploring your options?
I am actually still exploring my options, but why you call?
Thanks for letting me know, Juan. I'm reaching out because we're currently offering free roof inspections along with some seasonal discounts properties in your area. Would you like to schedule a free inspection for your roof this week? It's a great way to get a professional assessment and explore your options further.
Sure, why not? Yes.
That's great to hear, John. What day and time this week would work best for you?
Do you have tomorrow 9 a.m.?
Got it, Juan. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. works for you. Before I confirm, can I just verify your email address? I have it at jdavid@dark-llc.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Let me quickly check if we have availability for tomorrow at 9 a.m. It looks like tomorrow at 9 o'clock a.m. isn't available, but I do have some nearby options. Tomorrow, April 8th, between 9 o'clock a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. Wednesday, April 9th, between 10 o'clock a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or 7 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. Thursday, April 10th, between 9 o'clock a.m. and 10 o'clock a.m. Do any of these work for you?
As Thursday 9 o'clock, it's good.
Perfect one. I'll book you for Thursday, April 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. Let me confirm that for you right now. You're all set, Corn. I've booked your pre-roof inspection for Thursday, April 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. If you have any questions before then, feel free to reach out. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a great day.
Thank you. Same. All right, so the appointment booking went well. I just received the notification inside my Gmail account. And let's see now if this run correctly. So if you go here, see, well, the colors are not the best. I have to change that. But here, essentially, we received the information from retail about what happened during the call and our output variables. So let's check it. The from number is the number that we're calling from, which is the +1415, whatever. The agent ID, a call summary. So it says the user one was contacted by the agent from Sunshield Roofing to follow up on a previous quote for roof replacement, and yeah, we booked the call. The user sentiment positive, in voicemail false, call successful true. Here I also map the URL from the recording, which comes from retail. The duration from the call in milliseconds, that was 130 seconds. The transcript, the whole transcript, which is good to debug your agent. My name is Juan David without any space because that's how I mapped it in Make. Maybe I should have added a space here. Appointment book was true. When did I book it for? Quote update requested false because it didn't get to that point in the conversation. A human follow-up needed false. Lead status booked the call. And finally a summary, which is the same call summary that comes from retail. So yeah, if you can imagine doing this for a bunch of leads at the same time, you can imagine the power of this, because maybe you have 2,000 3,000 leads that are dormant that you haven't reached out in a while, and you just feed it to the AI, and maybe you just get some appointments booked out of the conversation with an AI agent without you having to actually do anything. And that's it. If you're serious about figuring out how AI can boost your sales and you don't want to spend time doing this, let's talk. I run an agency that builds these powered AI systems for businesses like yours. It all starts with a free discovery call in which we'll find the hidden opportunities within your business to implement AI and optimize it. And if you just want expert advice on how to implement these AI systems by yourself or how to implement AI within your business, I'm also opening up my calendar for one-on-one consulting services, and you can find the link in the description below. So click the link that suits you best and grab a time with me so we can discuss how AI can automate various parts of your business. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.